So just before I received the artwork for the second level and started building the scene, I went ahead and gave the level 2 a start like function and roll through. So I used to follow the template from that I made from the level 1, which should have made it obviously quite easy, but then ended up taking about an hour to tweak because there was an extra game object that the camera had to follow whilst like beginning the game. So there was a lot of faffing about, but got there in the end, and now that was level 2 ready and finished, just to have the artwork put in and the final like tweaks to be put in place once that was in. Now that all the processes for the second level have been put in, there was time to put the artwork into the scene. So I went ahead and put all the backgrounds in, gave that parallax scrolling that the script already had from level 1, and moved around and then put in correctly all the and still luckily put it all in single sizes, so it would make it easier for me to put in. I had to change around some of the assets and some of the platforms to we changed the layout slightly as it became a bit more complicated for her to work on, and so it just made it us easier for me to put together the game and actually was better playable, which obviously we want for it. We don't want to make it too complicated very early on. Um, then we went as I went in, so that was on the weekend, but then I went into uni, which is today, and it still helped me put it together finally, so it looked right, all the dimensions were correct, and we had to tweak. We had to make them the right places, had to replace some of the game objects, taking different colliders to polygon colliders, because obviously the sprite sizes were different, and just had to add in a few more blockers and colliders, which had to be like so everything could be in place, and nothing moved about in the level, and then did some testing on that, make sure it all worked. And once that got put in, we were nearly pretty much done with level 2 and how it looked and how it played, which was good. Once I tested all of level 2 and how that played, and I had a conversation with Sil about how we wanted to what our main focuses were for the next stage, and knowing that we didn't have and like as much time we had to build a bigger game, I think a lot of the focus now is going to be on making it as sharp as possible and to look the best, play the best it possibly can, with very few sort of bugs in comparison to how it plays, how objects move, and the animations. And there still is a few issues in quite a lot of that gameplay, which we're currently sorting out. So the first one was the animations bit. Currently there is no left idle, so when the player is walking left and then he goes to idle, turns back to the right. So I had to rearrange the animator window so that when it walks on the left, it goes to a left idle. And in this, I just tried just flipping the sprite that had from the right side of the idle, but there was quite a bit of difficulty in that. So I did ask, so I just asked Sil that she could flip the sprite in After Effects, and just because that will just be changing all the sprites around, and then I can just use that use that animation for the left-sided animation, which runs through the tree properly. And I tested it, worked, and it. So all I need now will be to put the left side of the sprite in, and then all that animation will be finished, and then we just need the other ones to get that finalised. The next piece of gameplay that I went about sort of finalising and fixing up was again the ladders. Noticing through testing there was too much movement on when the player moved up it in the vertical axis, that they could still move on the horizontal axis, and if they were moving about with the thumbstick, it didn't look too right. Someone wouldn't be able to move across the ladders like that. So how I did this was, instead of in the move method, I created a ball for whether the player can move horizontally, and then created a trigger in the sort of the middle area of the ladder to say that when during the time they're in this trigger, which makes the bulk of the ladder, they aren't able to move horizontally. So when moving up the ladder, initially they can move slightly horizontal to get onto the ladder, but then once they're on it, they can only move vertical, which is more representative of how someone would move up a ladder. So that really sort of sharpened up the ladder movements and made them look a lot better than before when they flew about a bit too much. And the next one for the ladders was we wanted to use a pull-up animation when they got so normally currently when they go up the ladder there isn't a piece of ladder above it, so they carry on. The climb animation carries on even when they're fully off the ladder. So it looks like it's kind of like floating, which obviously doesn't look real and doesn't look right at all. So once we haven't got a climb animation yet, but once that will put in, I tried it out first with the top of the ladder being blocked off. So once there was just a box collider at the top, and then once they hit that, there's a slight delay, which would where the animation would run, and then the script would transform, like moves the player object to like above the ladder where they would be standing, and with that delay, it like gives the game time to play the animation where Isiko climbs up, and then he'll be standing above the ladder, and then can carry on, and then that will just transition straight into being idle, and then the player can move left and right, and so hopefully once that we've got the animation in, that will make it a lot better, and then I can go into testing how that will go down as well with a climb down, and having this I think will make the whole once we've got the jump animation as well, will make the movement of Isiko in the game look as best as it can. Maybe some more testing, but I think once that's in, then it will look much better than it currently is.